Well, I will be kicking it off. So let's do some introductions first. So I'm Sue Atkins, the Associate Director of Employer Relations here in the Tufts Career Center. And I'm joined by Sean Gorman, recruitment coordinator here as part of the employer relations team in the Tufts Career Center. And we're excited to have Ben Rachel joining us, one of our fabulous career fellows that's here in the Tufts Career Center. He works with us doing hours each week, reading resumes and cover letters and just providing overall advice to students. You do not need an appointment for those, but we'll talk a little bit more about those in a little bit. So just a little bit, our career fair is coming up next Friday, the 26th, and it's from 11:30 to 3:30 p.m. in Gancher. But I'm going to turn it over to Sean to go over the agenda for today, which is our next slide.
Yeah. So it's nice to have all you guys here. Just to go over the agenda of what we'll be speaking about today. Like Sue said, it's going to be really jam-packed, but we already did some introductions. But first, talk about the career fair coming up next Friday and why that's worth attending, the benefits you could get out of that, how to prepare for the career fair, hence the name of the session. So beforehand, but also during the fair and after the fair, some action items for all of you guys just about how to best present yourself. And then we'll have time for Q&A kind of throughout in the chat, as Sue had said. Yeah. So in terms of what is the fair? So like I said, it's next Friday. It's from 11:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. in the Gantry Center. We have, I think, 143 employers now that are going to be in alphabetical order, minus all the like Tufts affiliated representatives that will be in their own little area, but otherwise in alphabetical order. So that's how you know generally where to find people. You can visit their booths to network, learn about what job opportunities they may have either now or in the future. Talk a bit about yourself, but also really importantly, ask questions to employers. There's also going to be a photo booth for LinkedIn headshots, which I do think is very helpful because as someone who was in college not that long ago, I found it difficult to find a good photographer for that. There's going to be one for all of you there next Friday. And then in terms of what to bring when meeting with employers, make sure you have a lot of copies of your resume, probably about as many as you'd want to speak to in terms of like the amount of employers you'd want to talk to at the fair. And also have the Handshake mobile app downloaded and bring your phone so you can scan the QR code to check in, make sure you have all the information that's necessary and, contact information of the employers you've met with. And there's a no bag policy. Yeah. So, why should you be attending a career fair? I'd say a lot of reasons, but one main reason is that the employers that are coming are directly looking to hire students for entry-level positions after graduation, but also internship and co-op opportunities. So they're not there just to blow smoke, as it were. They actually do want to hire people, and they're very interested in tough students, hence why they paid to come to the career fair and meet with students like you guys. So that's the main reason that they're there, and why you should be looking to meet with them if you're active on the job market or even more passively on the job market, looking for new opportunities or exploring what you might be interested in. These are people actively hiring and looking to hire people like yourself. And like I said, like if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, you can come explore, learn, talk to a lot of different types of employers and maybe figure something out about them, their industry, and also, maybe about your own job search and yourself as well.
Yeah, I was going to mention one thing too is we also have alums coming and representing their organizations too. So definitely a great place to connect with some Tufts alumni jumbos that will be there. So a lot of the reps will have been students here at one time. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah. So in terms of before the fair advice, we can go to the next slide and we'll just get straight into it. Yeah. So in terms of steps to make sure you're like all registered for the fair and set to go beforehand. If you haven't already, and I'm sure a lot of you have, but register for the fair on Handshake on the web application or the mobile app. Make sure you have that app downloaded on your phone though by the time the fair rolls around, so you're good with like check-in, having all the information on employers that you need like on the spot. Make sure you have it added to your calendar so you don't forget. Again, it's next Friday, the 26th, 11:30 to 3:30 p.m. And then beforehand, make sure you're looking through the list of employers. Like I said, there's about a little over 140 coming next Friday. So make sure that you've read through the list so that you know who you may be interested in speaking with, so you can be most effective with your time, as there will be a lot of other students there as well. And then when you do find companies and employers that you are interested in, make sure you do some research on them beforehand, so you have talking points prepared about yourself, questions to ask. Really does help you stand out in the crowd if you come prepared. So would recommend that as well.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about resumes. So, as Sue mentioned, I am one of the career fellows, and essentially, one of our main responsibilities is hosting career labs, which are every day, Monday through Friday from 12 to 2, and then Tuesdays from 5 to 7 in the JCC. And the most I guess most people come into these career labs for updating resumes, and your resume at the career fair is going to be probably the most important document you'll have. I mean, hopefully you'll be handing out your resume to a bunch of employers, and so it is imperative that your resume is looking good. It has great content on there, really good format, and yeah, that's something that we are more than happy to help with. And so these career labs are about 10 to 15 minutes long. As I said, every weekday, Monday through Friday at the Career Center. And so you can sign up or you can come for those, or you can make more specific appointments with one of our wonderful career advisors to your specific field of interest. For example, if you want to tailor your resume to the art field, you can sign up with Katie, who really is specialized in that field. And you can also upload your resume to your Handshake profile so employers can check it out. And as Sean mentioned, it is great to bring a bunch of printed copies of your resume to the career fair. And so when you go up to employers, it's very important that you have a prepared statement or a prepared introduction. These employers will be talking to a bunch of students, so it is great to have an intro that is very memorable, quick to the point, um, and just overall informative about yourself. And so these introductions, talk about your name, your school year, why you're attending the fair, why you're interested in this particular employer. So again, to Sean's point, research is very important. You want to really stand out, showing that you know your stuff about a certain employer. So that's very important. And then just any questions, right? And these questions, you don't necessarily want to ask them, oh, what does this company do? Are you hiring? You kind of want to ask more specific questions to that company. So again, just that research part of the career fair is super important. But anyways, the intro again is supposed to be very conversational yet informative. And again, just keep in the back of your mind of how many students these employers will be talking to. So again, be informative and be straight to the point with your introductions.
Yeah, so jumping back in here, first want to say I second everything that Ben said. I think, I agree with all of it. And coming in from this employer perspective slide, want to mention to all of you guys that actually in my professional role before working at Tufts, where I actually started this week, so as recently as a few weeks ago, I was working as a recruiter for a company, which I did for a while. And so coming from that, for-profit employer, I wanted to bring some of the perspective that I had as a recruiter and also that I learned from all the people that I work with and share it with you, as you'll be speaking with a lot of people very similar to the position that I held. at the fair next Friday. So, a few key takeaways I wanted to put in there. First, I would say come to network first and foremost. Not every employer is going to have the perfect job or internship for you. They are all coming to hire, like I said, but not every single one is going to have the exact right job for your qualifications at the moment you come to them, which is going to be next Friday. But I would say that if you're interested in a specific employer, I think it's still worth talking to them, even if they don't have the perfect job for you. Because one, you could learn a little bit more about the company and why it could or couldn't be a good fit. But two, you're importantly building a connection with a person who, one, may not be at that company forever and may move on to something that could be a better fit for you, but also, and more importantly, I'd say for the, context of the career fair, may know about other jobs and deadlines that you aren't able to see through Handshake or through other websites. And I can say firsthand as a recruiter, there are oftentimes a lot of jobs and deadlines and interview opportunities that are not readily posted online that are made through purely professional connections. And that's the importance of building them at the career fair. And that's why I still think if you're interested in an employer, it's worth talking to them. To the second point, I'd say it's really important to be authentic. I think a lot of people are good at reading others, and recruiters often work as recruiters because they like building connections with people and like having authentic conversations. So if you're bringing your authentic self to it, it's going to, work in your benefit. Talking about things you care about in a professional and personal setting, and building connections with recruiters that way. I can personally say, as one who worked in the past, that's something that I really loved when I connected with people. And I'd also say, I know not everybody at a career fair, and definitely not everybody, even in this Zoom meeting, is going to be an extroverted person. A lot of recruiters are, but not everybody who speaks with them are. And that's perfectly okay. I would say from my own experience, the people that I remember the most fondly are not the ones who speak the loudest about themselves. They're the ones who are able to speak at a deep level about themselves and what they care about and foster a connection with another person. That doesn't have to be a loud or long conversation, but as long as it's meaningful and you're bringing your authentic self to it, that's what I'd say that I and other recruiters I work with, that's what we remember. And then I'd say just as important as the conversation itself is the follow up and being thoughtful about it. So beforehand, like I had said, doing your research, being prepared with deeper level questions and conversation, that's what makes it really memorable in a good way. And then afterward, you have a really unique opportunity to stand out by sending thank you notes and sending connection requests after. It's a really important piece of the recruitment process. And a lot of people do miss it, but it is something that not only makes you stand out in a good way if you do it, but may make you actually stand out in the wrong way if you don't. So I'd say that anyone whose information you have, make sure you're sending them thank you notes with specific insights from the conversation. Just, an effort to stay in contact. It really does go a long way.
Great. We can skip. I'm going to show quickly, go from the slide deck to showing um, Handshake here, just from the student perspective. Some of you probably have already done this, so we'll make it really quick. Is if you haven't gone into Handshake already and registered, that's what you're going to want to do before the event. It's required for everybody to register. So you go to events and you can look up career fairs at your school. And here are all the career fairs that are coming up currently. And here's our fall career fair. So you want to make sure you can take a look at this. You can see all the employers. What's kind of handy here is if you click on this, you'll be able to see all the employers attending, a little bit about the company, a little bit about what they're hiring for, internships and jobs, and if they sponsor or not, as far as international students working there, gives a little bit of their link and who they're trying to hire right now. They're looking at seniors and juniors for full-time roles. So this is just a really great place that you can search all the employers that are attending alphabetically, and you can, follow some of these employers as well. So I'm following this company. This allows me actually to get notifications when any new jobs and events are added for Alpha Sites, for example. So that's a great thing to do. And so you can be doing that before the career fair or even after that you're going to follow potential employers that you're wanting to look at. And you can search, say I'm a student, I'm a biology student, but do I want to see, what is in here? I didn't use a good example, I guess. I'll look at, let me see. I will put computer science just as a sample here. It'll be good if I can spell it properly. So there should be listings here. I guess the search is not working as well as I'd want. And then you can also search at this by jobs. So here are all the jobs that the employers have posted in Handshake that you can take a look at already for the career fair. We'll be adding more of that as we continue forward. So just some simple things to take a look at. If you haven't registered, like I said, do that already. And this walks you through some resources, just as Ben was mentioning, the drop-in hours, making an appointment with an advisor, and our recording of this session will end up on our YouTube channel, this Prepare for the Fair session, so you can go back and watch it again if you so choose. We will be sending out the PowerPoint after this session as well. So I will turn it back over. You can click one more. Oh, and I'll talk a bit about the setup, maybe one more ahead. So just a quick view of what the fair is set up like. This is kind of our really basic layout of the event. You will see there's check-in and registration right here. So when you walk into the front entrance of Gancher, there will be a table where you're checking with your student ID. You're going to want to bring your student ID with you that day. And then there are name tag tables that are right behind the registration area. You'll get to fill in a name tag for yourself for the day that should have your name and major and year of graduation. That's the best approach there. We will have a career center table over in this area with the career fellows. For any questions, we'll have copies of the guide that will be available in Monday's e-news that will have a complete list of the employers and what booth location they're in. So that will be available. And we also will have a student hangout area right behind where we'll have granola bars and just a place to relax throughout the day because we know that spending a lot of time talking to employers can be tiresome, exhausting. Um, Here's the list of all the booths that are going to be in alphabetical order. So we will have row signs at the beginning of these so you can see what alphabetical location it will be, A through B, for example, in row one, or C through E in row two. So all of that will be designated here. And then we have our photo booth. Our LinkedIn photo booth will be all the way to the right here upon your entrance. There is usually a lot of interest in doing that. So I would plan, visiting the photo booth earlier in the day. Usually the wait is about 10 or 15 minutes and it goes rather quickly. So just be prepared for that. And our guide will definitely be sent out to students through the e-news. So if you're reading the Tufts Career Center e-news, you'll get the guide on Monday so you can begin to see the full list and what industry sectors and some other great additional information will be coming out. I didn't mention over here, we have a quiet conversations area. So many times the career fair can be very loud and overstimulating for students. So we have an area right over here, the bleachers. It would be right behind the bleachers. So if you're ever interested in asking an employer to have a conversation in that space, they are prepared and aware of that at the Tufts Career Center, and the Star Center will be located over here as well. So we can certainly accommodate any one-on-one conversations that may need to take place in this quieter, less overstimulating area. So we're happy to support our Star Center students through that. But that's kind of the general layout of the space for the day. We can move forward. Perfect. And one more. I think you have to click it. Yeah. And I guess I'll just cover this quickly since we're here. So as I mentioned already, you're going to want your Tufts ID card if you're an alum coming to this, your license, obviously. We want you to bring your smartphone with the Handshake app, preferably. You'll be checking in with QR codes at each and every table. This helps us know where your interests are, and it also allows the employers to know what students are interested in their organization. We've mentioned this already, multiple copies of your resume, which you can get printed in the library. I know the campus center has a place to print. I know some academic departments provide printing, so just check if that's something that they do. And then obviously your friends, and to be prepared by dressing business casual. And we'll go a little bit more into that as well in the next slide. And as everyone's mentioned, we don't permit bags in the Gantry Center. So if you can, bring your a small wallet in your coat pocket, that's a great thing to bring, and a folder with your resumes. That's kind of the way that we recommend folks preparing and showing up at the career fair next week. Oh, and then in terms of we already talked a little bit about this in terms of the quiet space. We have a hangout area, as I mentioned, so you can take a break. So that will be available. And we have the quiet conversation space. So if you're interested in speaking with a recruiter, they would definitely be available to have that conversation off to the side. Just you need to be okay with asking them to do that. And if there's any additional accommodations you might need in order to attend the fair successfully, please feel free to email me directly, and I will work in partnership with our Star Center colleagues to make those accommodations. Next slide. And then some of you might be asking, so what's the best way to approach this conversation with the employer? How might I bring this um, to them? And I think we don't want anyone to feel awkward. So basically, quick way to do that is saying, I'm having trouble hearing. Do you mind if we use the quiet conversation space to continue our conversation in that location? And so again, the employers are all prepared with awareness of that space. And if you need any assistance, you can come and connect with any of the Tufts Career Center staff. We will all have name tags on throughout the day. So please just come and find a staff member as well if you need any assistance. We're happy to be available throughout the event on next Friday.
Yeah, so I'll kind of take it back to talking a little bit more about, being at the fair and taking it from a student's perspective who's, I think, been at the fair every semester I've been at Tufts so far. So one of the most important things is dressing, business casual, business formal. It's very important to always put your best foot forward and give good first impressions to these potential employers. And so just a few things to keep at the forefront of your mind when you're picking out your outfit for the day. Definitely want to avoid any logos or busy patterns, any graphic tees, or, if you have a Nike logo, that's preferably not visible. Try to keep it as plain as possible. In the same vein, keeping accessories and jewelry to a minimum is pretty important. And along with these looks, you always want to smile. You want to look friendly and approachable. I mean, all these recruiters are looking for students to, as Sean mentioned, looking to students to hire. And so they want to see people who are excited, who are friendly, approachable, and just overall personable at the fair. And so that comes from, a smile on your face to whatever you end up wearing. So just make sure you keep that at the forefront of your mind and think of yourself as just one holistic entity going at the fair. And then, as Sue and Sean mentioned, we will be having a LinkedIn photo booth that offers free headshots. And so a lot of students come into career labs, and one of the first questions we always ask is if they have a LinkedIn. And many students, mostly undergraduates, will say no. And the main reason to that is because they don't have a headshot. And so this is a great way to get a headshot and start a LinkedIn if you don't already have one, or update an old one as well. And then, so the Career Center also offers a professional development fund for undergraduate students. Um, So there's some information here on the deck, but there's also a lot of information just looking up Tufts Career Center Professional Development Fund. This is a fund for, purchasing business casual to business formal attire for, the career fair, for networking nights or interviews if you do not have business attire. Yeah. But again, all that information is found on the Career Center website. So moving on, what to do at these booths. So you'll probably be going to a bunch of booths. And so the employers will have a QR code to scan to quote unquote virtually check in with the employer. This is just for them to keep an account of all the students they talk to. And then, as I mentioned earlier, introduce yourself and ask the questions. So this kind of ties in again with that whole research aspect, right? And preparing your introduction. Again, be straightforward, be informative, and be specific about these potential employers. And then a lot of these companies do come with swag and handouts and other company information on like pamphlets and stuff like that. So just be on the lookout for those when you go up to booths. Don't be shy to ask if you could take one. I've gotten a lot of free water bottles at the fairs in years past, and I still use them today. So this is, you could find a job and a water bottle next Friday. And then lastly, you always want to try to get the employer's contact information to follow up with applications and thank you notes. This is very important. You always want to try to walk away with something tangible from these booths. And the easiest thing to get is the recruiter's email or LinkedIn profile. And again, just just remember to be courteous and enthusiastic. These recruiters are taking the time to come to the fair to talk to you all. So just keep that at the forefront of your mind when you're having conversations with them. Excuse me.
Ben, I think
As
that's a really, yeah, Ben, I was just gonna say that's a really great point. I think,
mhm.
these employers are here because they really want to meet tough students. They know your experience, they know you're great candidates. And so just know that this is a two-way, conversation, a two-way relationship, and that they're coming specifically to make those connections.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Sue. And so after the fair, when you're going home, these are just a few things to do as the fair concludes. So, of course, as I mentioned earlier, sending thank you notes and connecting on LinkedIn is always important. Remembering that aspect of walking away with something tangible. And so this is where that whole thing can kind of come to fruition. Sending a thank you note, just thanking them for talking with you, answering a question, maybe add in a detail or two in that email, and then seeing what the next step is, whether that is sending in your resume via email, seeing if there's an application on their website. Um, this is a very important way to just kind of create that correspondence with a potential employer. Um, and then, of course, you'll be hearing a lot about these internships and positions. And so after the fair, you want to make sure you apply to these positions. Unfortunately, a lot of deadlines are uh, pretty early on in the fall. So just keeping that at the forefront of your mind and just being organized with all these deadlines is very important, especially if you talk to multiple employers at the fair.
Yeah, and I was
Last,
going to make one special case I was going to add is the deadline of the posting deadline in Handshake isn't really the deadline of the job itself. So we really encourage students to apply. If there's something you're interested, don't wait. AI has caused a lot of flooding of ATS systems for recruiters, and oftentimes they will turn off their jobs on their websites earlier than the posting deadline date. So we just encourage you to apply early, especially if you want to be seen as a top candidate for some of these opportunities. So just making sure you're really cognizant of applying as you go along versus waiting.
yeah, of course. And then another thing to keep in mind when you're applying and trying to tie all these things together, I guess, is when you apply and say you got a recruiter's email, it's very important that when you apply via Handshake or whatever avenue you apply through, you email that recruiter saying that you applied. Again, this is the best part of a career fair is making those connections, and you want to utilize those connections to the best of your to the best of your extent. Um, and then, as I was saying, lastly, you want to follow these companies on Handshake and follow the collections created by the Career Center. Again, it's important to use Handshake and to register on Handshake. Handshake is full of information and pretty much a very important resource for the career fair. But that brings us to the end of the slides. Thank you all for being here. We'll be more than happy to take any questions now.
Thank you.
Yeah, any final questions? One thing I was going to add is we have the collections might be something you're not familiar with in Handshake. Those are groups of employers that we've put together in there. So if you go into Handshake, you'll find a fall 2025 employer handshake collection. So all the employers coming for the fall career fair, their jobs, their events will all be in one place. So that's a great resource to know about. And we've started creating new collections on a variety of areas like environmental and sustainability jobs, law opportunities, pre-law opportunities. So you'll continue to see those get built out over time, but definitely a great resource to check out. Any other oh, hand
Yeah, it
raise?
seems like
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, Sakshi, do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So are we allowed to take a document folder along with us?
Are you allowed to take what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
A document folder to keep our resumes?
Yeah, so you can bring in, I would say you could bring in like a folder to bring your resumes into Cantor Center. That's probably the best thing to do. That's what I've seen what most students do is rather than bringing in a backpack or something like that to bring in like a folder for your resumes. That's completely fine.
All right, thank you.
Yes, that's a great question. Thank you. Any other questions before we wrap things up? Well, feel free to reach out to myself, to Sean, to Ben, and any of the, oh yeah, there's a question. In terms of collecting swag and connecting with employers, yes. If you want to come off of mute, you
And
can't.
just one more
Oh,
shameless plug about
hi.
the career.
Sorry. Oh,
No, go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, I was just typing. I just wanted to know, in terms of like collecting swag and connecting with employers, must we be like completely cognizant of what their mission is or what their company kind of offers? Because what if you're kind of just like pulled into a random conversation? You're like, wait, I actually haven't prepared for this specific company. Is it like encouraged to talk to as many employers as possible, or is it more so encouraged to connect with those that you specifically prepared to connect with?
2 cents is to, do your research and like know what your goals are. Like, what are the one or two goals that you want to get out of attending this fair? Is it finding an internship? Am I just exploring? Really and then really do your research around those goals. So if you're looking for an internship, really look at the areas and employers that are offering internships in your major area and probably prioritize your time to specifically talk to them. And I do encourage you to have at least one or two questions that are really specific about who they are, their mission, their values, what they do, and the opportunities that you might be interested in and what questions you have about that. So you're not going to have a lot of time. There's a lot of people that attend, but I would say having one or two pointed questions that you can bring is a really good idea. But if you're there to explore, definitely wander around. You're not going to be necessarily prepared to talk to each and every single one of the employers, and that's great too. Have an opportunity for these informal conversations to happen, and maybe, you learn about something you're not interested in as much as you might learn about something that you're really excited about. So I think it's really just an opportunity to network and really build your social connections, your network on LinkedIn as well, and to just learn and explore. And you might find an employer that you've never thought about that offers something that you're excited to take advantage of. So I just think that would be the way that I would approach it is do your research, go with a plan, but also be prepared for that plan to maybe not necessarily be, you know, completely 100%. You might do other things and add to your list of employers that you talk to. I hope that helps
Um,
answer your question. And Ben, yeah, feel
yeah,
free.
I was gonna say, just kind of adding on to your point there, I think at the end of the day, quality over quantity matters here.
Mhm, mhm,
Um,
mhm.
I mean, there are a lot of employers, but there are even more students. So it's very important to be intentional about who you talk to, especially if it is a position or company that you really are interested in. I mean, I've seen some companies have huge lines of students waiting to talk to them. So for a company like that, you would want to be very intentional about what you pick. Um, but to Sue's point, you may also end up talking to an employer or another firm that you just had no idea what it is about. And I mean, recruiters are prepared for stuff like that, right? You could walk up to an employer and say, "Oh, this company sounds really cool. This, that, and what?" And then you end up having an informal conversation that could lead to a pretty good result for the both of you. And so it's definitely an interesting, I guess, just dynamic there at the fair. But again, to echo Sue's point, it's very important that you do come with research and questions and prepare yourself for the fair.
Yeah, and a great question came up in the chat around how quickly to send that thank you note or connect on LinkedIn. I mean, you can connect on LinkedIn that Friday, right? Just kind of connect with that employer and you can send the note through email or through LinkedIn. But yeah, I definitely say within 48 hours, you want to keep that memory fresh. You want them to know who you are and remember your conversation. So referring to something you might have spoken about in your one-on-one chat with them is a really great way to leave a lasting impression with a recruiter. Authenticity can't understate that, and I think having these conversations be less transactional on like how can I get a job from you is not a memorable approach. It's really I talked to the student who's in X major and they really looked at my internship program and had some two key questions that really, made me think that this student was prepared and interested in what we do. That is what leaves a really key lasting impression with an employer. Well, if there's no more questions, we are really excited to have you join us next Friday in the Ganter Center. The Career Fellows are available every day next week, Monday through Friday, 12 to 2 for career labs. And our career advisors are available for appointments that you can make in Handshake. Obviously, we're happy to send out the PowerPoint presentation to everyone and, look forward to seeing you guys all next Friday at the career fair. And thanks to Ben and Sean. Great presentation. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care. Have a great rest of your Friday.